There's just one in the garden. You can see it's getting worn down a bit. And this is what the female Great Spangled looks like underneath.
Those are blue patches, right?
What?
Those are blue patches on it?
No, they're not blue. They're blue in that book, in the magazine. But I think they're kind of a dull white.
Or silver.
Do they look blue to some people? Oh, okay. Well, it's the way I see color because I don't see the blue in there. But how many people see blue? Oh boy. Well, I'll go. Yeah. I'll go with majority, I think. Whoops, I'm pushing this and nothing's happening. Did I pull it out? Oh, there it goes. There's the male.
The male?
Great Spangled Fritillary. And there is a comical situation. This ragged male that's trying to figure out how to hook up to the female, he never did figure it out. I don't know what his problem was, but I watched him for a half an hour or so, and she was really getting tired of him because everywhere she'd go, he'd try to hook up with her, and he tried from every angle on her body, and finally she got rid of him. And I don't know what that's all about, and maybe I misinterpreted the whole thing too, but that's what it looked like to me.
And that's the coneflower?
That's the coneflower or the echinacea. This is a Zerini Fritillary. I didn't even know it was a Zerini until somebody pointed it out to me. I thought just another Great Spangled. This spangle is larger than these two. These three are separate, and this small one is at a certain angle to this one. That's one of the ways. That's one of the ways you tell us it's a Zerini Fritillary. You can see the scientists have a lot of fun sometimes figuring out common names and scientific names and how to determine whether they're separate species or not. And they get into it a lot more than that. I'm finding out with some of the black skippers I'm finding. I got one right now. It's probably a Perseus dusky wing, which you'll soon see. An entomologist is dissecting its genitalia to find out for sure whether it's a Perseus dusky wing or not. So that's his world. I don't think I'll be getting into that too much. I'll be a little looser about it. But you know, for him it's fascinating, and you know it means something to him, and we're, you know, that's why there's billions of us, I guess. I mean, you know, we all have our own worlds and our own ways of looking at the world. Okay. Now this one's a little easier to identify as a fritillary, a specific fritillary, because notice the green casting on it, and this is not particular to the female like the clouded sulfur. This is a Callipee, C-A-L-L-I-P-P-E fritillary. This comes out early. This is, I think, the first fritillary that we see on Mount Jumbo. And I hadn't seen one last year because I didn't start early enough. I love this one. And this is what it looks like from the upper side. Now what I do sometimes, if I need some help identifying the butterfly, I'm not into, even though I hunt, and I don't hunt for trophies, but I do hunt for deer and elk. And I eat the meat, and I drag it in, and I cut it up, and I package it and everything. I can't kill the butterfly. So I have friends that collect specimens, and I'm glad they do, because I can go to their collections and get a better idea about some of the things I need to be looking for. But what I do is I put them in a jar and put some paper toweling in the jar and give them a taste of a cloudy, cold day or winter by putting them in the refrigerator, and then taking them and getting them identified, putting them out in the grass, and before they get too lively, photographing them, and then away they go.
So how do you catch it with a net?
Yeah, with the net, right. So I think myself, I think it's wonderful that there are some specimen collections, but I would in general encourage people to photograph and use binoculars and that sort of thing. I just don't think we have a need for just hundreds of people out there with their specimen collections. So, you know, I'm trying to discourage that, but I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it either. So I'm not looking at anybody in particular, and I mean even know somebody here that does specimens, and he's a wonderful person, and I'm glad he does it. But you know, I just think we need to go light in general on that. This is a Hydaspes fritillary. I think one of the ways you tell the Hydaspes is by the chocolate in the disc. This is the disc area in here. And do you know, Jim?
No, I didn't know.
This poor Hydaspes was just about dead in our yard. It was on our a hammock, and here's another picture of it looking down on it. You can see that it wasn't too good a shape. I wouldn't even discovered it had it not been hanging out on the hammock and been so lethargic that, I mean, you know, there's just no problem checking it out.
Is that just due to old age? As a kid, whenever I saw something like that, I always thought a bird got to it or a cat got to it.
Well, it could probably a mix, probably wind abrasion and you know, brushing against branches as it's flying every once in a while. You know, makes a slight mistake. You know. A cat or a bird takes a nip at part of it, you know, it's probably a combination of things. Snowberry in the wintertime, the next butterfly, nope, I'm still with, I take a break to show you my bitterroots.
Pretty. It's wildflower.
This is our state flower, the bitterroot. Mm-hmm. So the snowberry reminds me of the checker spots because you tend to find a lot of the checker spots hanging around the snowberry, the native shrub that has the real pretty white berries, and then you walk in the Green Oak Park in the wintertime and it looks like there's snow falling along the trail. Because there's no vegetation on the shrub, and there's these little white berries hanging all over the place. They're poison. They're slightly poisonous to humans, but there's some other creatures that utilize them. Pine grosbeaks. You'll often find pine grosbeaks on snowberry. And then here is the snowberry checker spot. Snowberry checker spot. Snowberry. It's got. This one doesn't have many, but it's got some little snowberries on its main body, little white dots. And maybe the markings on the wings are considered snowberries too, I don't know. I haven't read much about how the history of naming of butterflies, common name-wise. This is a northern checker spot. This is, I think, a female because I'm looking at real bright orange ones now, orange and brown. A lot of the checker spots are black and orange and cream colored, but the northern is pretty easy to identify because they're real bright orange and brown. Sometimes when you're looking for butterflies, you come upon an elk calf on Mount Jumbo, and you notice it's out in the open grass, and the East Missoula's in the background.
Is that one okay?
It's very fine. Yeah, and here is yet another elk calf I discovered on the south end of Mount Jumbo another season. And so right now in June they're calving, and some of them use a strategy of doing the unexpected by coming to the south end of Mount Jumbo near the city out in the open grass and dropping their calves. And you can always bet that this creature here is not too far away.
That's Mount Jumbo, right?
Yep. No, 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 sorry. This is Yellowstone Park. Thought you were referring to the calves. That's not Mount Jumbo. See the mule deer? And you see they've been around for a while. You'll notice there's a deer trail there because that's not a people trail. And they also drop fawns on Mount Jumbo. Or they drop fawns. I mean, the elk drop calves.
Look like a whitetail almost.
This was high enough, I think an elk did this. And I put this in to at some point talk about the fact that elk and deer create sap, but I haven't been able to make the connection between the elk and the deer and the butterfly yet because I just don't find butterflies on pine sap.
How did they get that high?
Just strip the tree.
There, do you see some critters in through that tree? I took this on Monroe Street. I didn't have a long telephoto lens, but that's the elk that hung out this winter on Mount Jumbo. And the main herd had 53 animals. There's 53 of them there. Back to the garden. It's sedum. Yeah, it's sedum. It's a wonderful plant. Sometimes it's called autumn joy at the nurseries. And it flowers late in the summer, early in the fall. Great plant. This is one of the hair streaks. Notice the hair streaks have those little tail things. And they take, like I was talking about, see this? Right here, eye spot. And they take and rub the hind wings together like this while they're sitting. And so their eyes are moving, right? So the bird comes and pecks the eye. The way they fly. Good strategy, huh? Very seldom do you get to see the gray hair streak on the top side because a lot of times many of the species, when they land, they'll fold their wings right away. But others don't have that habit. So I caught this one finally. This is a coral hair streak. Isn't that a beauty? That's a juniper hair streak. The hair streaks, by the way, are my next to favorites. The last family I'll show you are my favorites, the skippers. This is a thicket hair streak or mistletoe hair streak. Remember I was telling you that the elfins hang around bearberry? Okay, that's, I don't know whether this is a female or a subspecies. It's a lighter hoary elfin than you usually see. And then here's the hoary elfin, the typical one you see. Brown elfin. Oftentimes you find them around young pine trees. I don't know what they're doing, but when the new growth comes out, they're on the end, on the tip of that new growth, working on something. This is a western pine elfin. This is looking down on our valley, Mount Jumbo, and there you go back to autumn joy.
Autumn?
Yeah, the sedum.
That was called autumn.
At the nursery, sometimes it's called autumn joy.
Yeah, it's called stone crop. Stone crop, you might know it from
Stoneflies?
stone crop.
Okay, the butterfly you were looking at was a male purplish copper. Now, from this light angle, you can get a better idea why they're called purplish copper, right? So that purplish was in there on that first photograph, but sometimes those colors don't show up except on a certain light angle. Remember when you see the calliope or a hummingbird, that at certain angles it's black on the throat and then it turns and there's brilliant red slashes? Here's the underside of the purplish copper. This is female. She's has quite a different pattern. It's not straightforward for me on the butterflies. As far as beauty, some of the females I prefer over the males. I think they're showier and prettier to look at, and other times the male seems to be clearly more beautiful. Mating.
What was that yellow?
Those are still the purplish coppers.
Oh, and they're that yellow.
This is, I had too much exposure on the film on this. I was bummed out. It was real brilliant light shining off of that underneath of the wing. Fold the camera. Sometimes I bump into bluegrass while I'm chasing butterflies. And that's a pretty good shot considering that's with a normal lens. I didn't even have a telephoto with me. This is a Bois de Vals blue. We're in the blue family now. We just went through hair streaks and elfins.
And what kind of blue?
Bois de Vals is French. B-O-I-S D-U-V-A-L''S. And one of the ways you tell the Bois de Vals is these spots up here are larger than these spots. And pretty soon you'll see a silvery blue, and all the spots are equal. And also the Bois de Vals has another row of spots near the margin.
Is his antenna really spotted?
Hmm?
Colors? Is his antenna really spotted, or is it just the?
So there's black and white markings on the antenna. This is a Melissa blue. Here's a nice shot where you can see both the top side and the underneath side. Now this is a silvery blue from the top. There's a silvery blue from the bottom. See now what it's telling you about the dots? See how they're all of equal size? This is a female. Her dots are smaller and she's a little drabber. This is female silvery blue. Rattlesnake Creek in Greeno Park this spring. And the spring azure. It's a real small blue butterfly. Remember a while ago I was talking about the little blue one that flies along the shrubs and the trees? Checking whatever out. I'm not sure what yet. But it does help me identify them. And then this is what the female looks like. Arrowhead blue. Arrowhead pattern on the hind wing. I don't know what these are. I just found them hanging out on snowberry.
Aren't they the hummingbird moth?
And the moth?
I think they could be the hummingbird moth, but I need somebody's help. Does anybody know what they are?
Okay, stop. Look at the antennae.
Uh-huh.
Is it feathery or is it clubbed?
It's feathery. See, you can see it's quite wide.
Look at the body.
Mhm.
See how it's short and stocky?
Mm-hmm.
This is a moth.
I'm sure.
See
Wow.
See how the wings when it's laying, well, supposedly when the
Mhm.
butterfly, when they're in rest, but your pictures have proved differently. Butterflies will
Yeah.
have their wings up when they sit,
Mm-hmm.
and a moth will always have theirs down, close to
Mm.
them.
Yeah, in general that's true because that's not always true with butterflies. I know.
Like I said, a lot
Yeah.
of your pictures show totally
Yeah, and for me, what the problem is, I don't even think of butterfly or moth. I tend to think of pair of bees of some sort. But I'm sure you're right because I've seen some hummingbird moths and photographed them, and they look like hummingbird moths. These just don't quite look like that, but I'm sure that's what they are. I think you're
I don't know, moths have very good
on the right track.
Yeah, see, these are
It's a
like
moth.
see-through.
What
There may be some on the top.
what's throwing me off probably is the transparent wings.
They're really neat.
You know, there's a transparent butterfly in the tropics. I had this article and it shows a picture of a transparent butterfly. It has, you know, like those wings of that moth, if that's what it is. The whole butterfly is transparent. It's really wild.
Even the abdomen? Even the body?
No,
Just the wings?
just the wings. All right, this is a checkered skipper.
Okay.
You see the checkered skipper? Sometimes when you're photographing, this is what happens. They start flying, and you wind up with the leaf instead of the butterfly. Okay, did I ever get lucky here? Look at this. This butterfly is actually flying to a flower, and it's already uncoiling its proboscis to nectar on that lavender. Now, usually people, use thousands of dollars worth of equipment and spend weeks trying to get a photograph like this. And all I did was, just in a few seconds, luck out and get this. I couldn't believe it when it came back. And I couldn't even begin to tell you, that I did this on purpose. Okay, we're in the skippers, and we're talking woodland skipper now. Woodland skipper you'll find in your yard a lot, along with the peck skipper. Okay. Real quick on the skippers, and then it's all over with. That's the longest slideshow I've ever shown, by the way. And I got so carried away because I want to give you an overview of what they look like and some feeling for the families. And at this point, I have 57 species photographed. I have over 600 photographs of butterflies. So I thought I'd do the unusual and show you all of them. Isn't that neat where you can see the proboscis actually in the flower? And that's a peck skipper. See that yellow patch, big patch on its wing? That's a, whoops. For some reason it doesn't want to go on to that next one. Oh, the slide didn't. Oh, I hope this is not what I think it is. There could be a slide down in there. Okay. All right. I think they're so darn cute, and I don't know how you say cute scientifically. And I thought it was extra neat that you could actually see its shadow on the leaf. And it's kind of like peeking, to me it's kind of peeking around the corner. But you can still see it because you can see its shadow.
And these are skippers, right?
Yeah. These are woodland skippers now.
Those polyhops?
Yeah. This is a Hesperia skipper, Hesperia. That's looking down on it. Most of the time you don't get to look down on Hesperia. And this is looking on the underneath, which is what you usually see. This is Pex. So Pex, one Pex was kind of out of order. It should be with his other Pex. Okay, Arctic skipper is a new one to me. Isn't this a beauty? This is roadside skipper. A lot of these roadside skippers, you don't, Steve tells me you don't see very many of them. I mean, they're here and you see them from time to time, but you never go someplace, and just see a whole bunch of them. Just every great once in a while, all of a sudden one of them will show up for you. And you'll see one, or two, and then, that's it for the day for roadside skippers or Arctic skippers or whatever it happens to be. Garita skipperling. This one's really, really tiny. It's plain. Now this is a large skipper, but large is like, not really very big. But relative to the other skippers, it's large. Silver spotted skipper, Sweet Williams. Ready for takeoff at the airport. Lined up to be second on the runway. Most of the time you don't get to see the silver spotted looking down on it. Now it looks like maybe a bird pecked it. Do you see that damage there near its head? On top of its body? Here's the purchased dusky wing that's undergoing surgery right now. This is the under view of it. The Blue-Eyed Mary. And when I get the roll of film developed, I won't have the two-banded checkered skipper on the Blue-Eyed Mary, but I will have a picture of the two-banded checkered skipper. I just put that in there to let you know that that's one that's on Mount Jumbo, and I have it in the camera right now on film. Fall time now, finally. Winter in Missoula. You see the white spot above the peak there? A real tiny white spot on the right side. We're leaning toward the right. That's a star. This was taken at 3 o'clock in the morning at McLeod Peak in the back of the National Recreation Area. Yep. It's 8,700 feet above sea level. Huh? That's an unnamed lake. There's 2 of them just south of McLeod. And I went out and I gave it, I think, a 1-minute time exposure in a full moon night. And the snow reflection off the peak, you know, helped the shot.
It looked like a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's taken 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. Pat Williams used to have that hanging in his congressional office. We gave that to him as a gift for his part in the preservation of the National Recreation Area. And for me, I had a unique experience. One of the reasons why I ended that is that I wanted to share with you that I was a small part of a very large thing. Because for me, we didn't just preserve Mount Jumbo, we preserved from I-90 to McLeod Peak. There's a stretch of habitat that now is preserved all the way through there. So it goes from McLeod to the I-90 for me. One last thought here. This is the weirdest thing that I've come across yet. And the photography doesn't even show you how weird it is because you don't get the proportions, you know, the real life proportions. This looked like a fragment of a blossom flying through the air. And there were a whole bunch of them the other day when I was photographing butterflies. And those wings are long and really thin. And it just looks like some debris floating through the air, and it must be some kind of moth. What a strategy, huh? Okay, thank you. Yeah.